We're live from New Delhi. You're watching DD India News, India's Voice to the World. I'm Nipakshi Khurana. Coming up in the next hour. India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi arrives in Mauritius to an unprecedented welcome. Top dignitaries, including PM Naveen Chandra Ramagulam, receive Prime Minister Modi at the airport. US-Ukraine talks to discuss terms to end conflict in Jeddah today. Zelensky, US Secretary of State Marco Rubio meets Saudi Crown Prince to set the tone for highly anticipated meet. Greenland holds parliamentary polls amid repeated threats from US President Trump to take over the world's largest island. And global markets tank again amid fears that US President Donald Trump's policies could plunge economy into a recession. Nasdaq suffers biggest one-day loss since September 2022. And on to the details. India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi arrived in Mauritius' capital Port Louis this morning on a two-day state visit. Prime Minister Modi landed in Mauritius to a grand and warm welcome at 6 a.m. local time. Mauritius Prime Minister Naveen Ramagulam welcomed his Indian counterpart with a garland. He was joined by the Deputy Prime Minister, Chief Justice of Mauritius, Speaker of the National Assembly, Leader of the Opposition, Foreign Minister, Cabinet Secretary, Chairperson of Grand Port District Council and many others. There was a total of 200 dignitaries present to welcome Prime Minister at this early hour, which included MPs, MLAs, diplomatic corps and religious leaders. Prime Minister Modi was accorded ceremonial welcome at the airport. He will attend the National Day celebrations as the chief guest on the 12th of March. Members of the Indian community gathered at the airport were excited to catch a glimpse of the Indian Prime Minister. Well, a Bihari tradition welcomes Prime Minister Narendra Modi in Mauritius. Prime Minister Modi welcomed by traditional Geet Gawai. Geet Gawai is a traditional Bhojpuri musical ensemble that embodies the rich cultural heritage brought to Mauritius by women from the Bhojpuri belt of India. In recognition of its cultural significance, Geet Gawai was inscribed on UNESCO's representative list of the intangible cultural heritage of humanity in December 2016. Well, the visit comes right in the beginning of a fresh term of office for Mauritius Prime Minister Ramagoolam, and of course, Prime Minister Modi also in it to his third term of office. So the visit is indeed a very timely visit and will enable both sides to take stock of bilateral ties and provide orientation to engagement in the coming months and years. Let's look at what's on agenda of Prime Minister Modi's visit. Well, one of the highlights of this visit is that the Prime Minister is being invited also as the chief guest for the National Day celebrations of Mauritius, which will take place on the 12th of March. On the occasion of the National Day, a contingent of the Indian Defence Forces will participate in the celebrations. He will visit the Sir Sivosagar Ramagoolam Botanical Garden to pay homage to Sir Sivosagar Ramagoolam, the former Prime Minister and the founding father of Mauritius, and also Sir Anirudh Jugnauth, former President and former Prime Minister of Mauritius. Moving on to the other official engagements, the Prime Minister will call on the new President of Mauritius, Dharambir Gokul, and this will be followed by bilateral meetings with Prime Minister Ramagoolam. It is expected that there will be meetings with other political leaders also during the visit. Also, Prime Minister Modi and Prime Minister Ramagoolam will together inaugurate few projects that have been implemented with Indian assistance and will also witness the signing of several MOUs on cooperation in the field of capacity building, bilateral trade, tackling of cross-border financial crimes and promoting small and medium enterprises. There will also be an interaction with members of the Indian community, Friends of India and socio-cultural organizations in Mauritius during this visit. So that is more or less the elements of the visit and some of the things that are likely to happen during the visit. And for more, we have Akshay Dongre joining us from Mauritius. Well, Akshay, Prime Minister was received with a grand and warm welcome today morning, received by the top personalities of Mauritius. Tell us more about it and how excited are the people there to have Prime Minister Modi there?
Well, Lipakchi, you're absolutely right that there is a lot of palpable excitement that you see here as far as Mauritius is concerned. And perhaps that's the reason why it was a Prime Minister of Mauritius who himself visited the airport to receive Prime Minister Narendra Modi. We have seen that the bonhomie between the two nations is not new. In fact, the relation has been nurtured for several decades, in fact centuries, and it started when the British authorities had banned slave labor and started the indentured labor, due to which about 500,000 immigrants were brought in as indentured laborers, and about 97% of these laborers came in from India, most of them coming in from Bihar, about 40%, and then from other parts of the country as well. So the civilizational links are very, very old and quite significant. In fact, at the museums here, you can see scriptures like Ramayana, Mahabharata, that have been brought by these laborers who came with nothing but a few belong. 7:30 p.m. Prime Minister Narendra Modi will be going and meeting. 7:30 p.m. Prime Minister Narendra Modi will be going and meeting with the Prime Minister once again. So these meetings are lined up, and tomorrow, you have rightly mentioned that Prime Minister Narendra Modi will be the chief guest for the National Day of Mauritius as well.
All right. Also, Akshay, what all is lined up more for today? What is Prime Minister's agenda, especially for today?
Well, like I said, the first agenda would be to going to the botanical garden that is named after Sivosagar Ramagoolam, the founding father of Mauritius, along with the Prime Minister. Then there will be a meeting with the President. There will be a community event as well that is going to be quite significant, given the fact that about 70% of Mauritius population they are part of the Indian diaspora. So you can say that the Indian diaspora form about 70% of the population here in the island nation. Besides the community event, there will be a dinner hosted by the Prime Minister of Mauritius as well for PM Modi, when the two leaders will also discuss the bilateral engagements between the two countries.
All right, Akshay, thank you so much for all those details. And Ganga Talao, also known as Grand Basin, is revered as Mauritius' most significant Hindu pilgrimage site, symbolizes the Ganges River of India. The holy waters of Ganga Talao were infused with waters from the Ganges River in 1972. Well, the lake is surrounded by temples dedicated to Lord Shiva, Lord Ganesh and Lord Hanuman. The Shiva temple at Ganga Talao believes to be 13th Jyotirling, also known as Mauritius' Iswarnath Jyotirling, according to local legend, was established in 1897 by Pandit Jamon Giri. During the visit of India's President Draupadi Murmu to Mauritius in 2024, it was announced that the Government of India will support the redevelopment of the Ganga Talao complex into a religious, cultural and tourist hub. DD India correspondent Akshay Dongre spoke with the trustee and caretaker of the sacred lake in Mauritius on the significance of the Ganga Talao.
We are currently at Ganga Talao in Mauritius, one of the most revered spiritual and religious sites. And to talk about how this place is significant, we also have Mr. Satish Dayal with us. Sir, thank you so much for speaking with us. There is a lot of interest as far as the Ganga Talao is concerned. Many people also consider the temple here as the 13th Jyotirlinga as well in India too. As the Prime Minister is arriving here in Mauritius, there is a lot of interest as far as India is concerned and in the world as well that these kind of places exist in Mauritius. So can you tell us about the significance of this Ganga Talao?
The Ganga Talao is a very important place, a spiritually revered place, as you mentioned it. It is a Tirthistan, a place of pilgrimage too. And recently it has been declared as a heritage, a spiritual heritage too. For the Hindu, it is a great symbol.
Right.
It is a great symbol because Ganga Talao is a sacred lake. In spite of being a sacred lake, it's a volcanic lake too. And it is a natural lake.
Right.
For Hindu, it is a great symbolism, this lake itself. The two things at Ganga Talao is very important. One is the lake itself. Secondly, the world 13th Jyotirlinga is here. The 12 Jyotirlinga in India, it is the only one which is outside India. And it is considered as the main temple of the country. And very often we used to experience miraculous happenings. And the temple is very, very famous all throughout the world.
You heard all the significance of this Ganga Talao and like Mr. Dayal has explained to us in so many words that how special and pious this lake is and how Mauritius is perhaps the only country outside India that has a Jyotirlinga as well. With camera person Ajit Kumar, Akshay Dongre, DD India.
And updates on the Parliament proceedings now. Indian Home Minister Amit Shah will introduce the Immigration and Foreigners Bill 2025 in the lower house of Indian Parliament on Tuesday. This comprehensive legislation aims to consolidate and modernize India's immigration framework by repealing all 4 existing laws. Also, general discussion will be held on the budget for the state of Manipur for 2025-26. And for more on this, we have Devendu Model joining us. Well, Devendu, the Parliament resumed yesterday. Tell us about the yesterday's session and what all is expected for today.
Well, good morning, Lipakshi. As the Parliament session's budget session, in fact, of the second leg has begun yesterday, we saw a lot of chaos and disruptions yesterday, for which the Parliament had to be adjourned a couple of times. Both the upper house and the lower house were adjourned a couple of times. But however, in the second half of yesterday's Parliament session did function smoothly. We did see the introduction of the Manipur budget by Union Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman in Rajya Sabha. However, in Lok Sabha also several other bills were discussed and taken up by the government. And, even in today's Parliament, we are expected to see a chaos or perhaps a sort of disruption trying to be built up by the opposition, because they are planning that the strategy of the opposition is that they would pick up issues like, the language row, which, the DMK is picking up. Even yesterday in the Rajya Sabha, Leader of the House, JP Nadda and Union Minister also had said that, the parliamentary procedures and protocols needs to be followed by the ruling in fact, by the opposition as well as the ruling parties. So, of course, even today, a stormy parliament session is expected. There are several key important bills lined up by the government that perhaps could be brought in both the houses of parliament, Lipakshi.
Also, Devendra, the Lok Sabha is expected to have a discussion on seeking approval for President's rule in Manipur.
Well, Lipakshi, that's absolutely right. Recently Manipur was proclaimed under the president's rule, given the resignation of the chief minister of Manipur. And it is the Union Home Minister and the Home Ministry that will bring in every president's rule that is proclaimed. The assent from the parliament is needed, for which the Union Home Minister will bring in that proclamation to the parliament, and after which a debate and discussion is expected to take place in parliament, which also could see some fireworks from the opposition, because for long the opposition had been demanding that there should be a debate and discussion in parliament on the issue of Manipur. So of course that could bring in some fireworks from the opposition and could lead to disruptions in both the houses of parliament. Lipakshi.
All right, Debendu, thank you so much for all those details. And moving on, Pandav Leni caves located just outside Nasik are a stunning blend of history, faith and artistry. Dating back to 250 BC, these 24 rock-cut caves echo Buddhist and Jain heritage, with breathtaking views and intricate carvings, making it a must-visit for history lovers and adventurers alike. DD India correspondent Tapas Bhattacharya with this report. Take a look.
Tirasmi Hill near Nasik, the Pandav Leni cave stands as a timeless guardians of India's rich Buddhist and Jain tradition. Dating back as far as 250 BC to 680, these 24 rock-cut caves echoes the stories of faith and artistry and history. Reaching the caves is an adventure in itself. A climb of nearly 350 steps rewards you with a breathtaking panoramic view, but the true marvel lies within the intricate carvings. Ancient water tanks and grand viharas reveal the craftsmanship of Kshatripas, Satavahanas and Ahirs, the dynasties that once ruled Nasik. Local legends whisper that these caves were once the refuge of the Pandavas, leading them the name of Pandav Leni, meaning the Pandavas' caves in Marathi. Despite the passage of time, the caves remain remarkably preserved, with their northern-facing entrance shielding the majestic sculptures and inscriptions. Whether you are a history buff or an adventurer or a seeker of peace, Pandav Leni Caves promises a journey into India's glorious past. This is Tapush Bhattacharya signing off from the Pandav Leni Caves in Nasik.
And still to come on DD India News Hour. A tanker collided with container ship off northeast England, triggering explosions and fuel spill. Former Philippine President Rodrigo Duterte arrested in Manila on ICC warrant over his war on drugs. And Japan marks 14th anniversary of 2011 earthquake, tsunami and nuclear crisis with moment of silence and memorial service.
Complex issues, hidden agendas, twists and turns, strategic games. We think all dots are linked. We just need to connect them. Join me every week as I connect the dots to unravel hidden designs in statecraft, mysteries, and decode issues that matter to you. Watch Connecting the Dots with me at these times on DD India.
Welcome back. You're watching DD India News. I'm Lepakshi Khurana. Moving on, world will be anxiously following the high-stakes diplomatic talks between US and Ukraine slated for today in Jeddah. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky and US Secretary of State Marco Rubio have both held separate meetings with Saudi Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman ahead of key discussions on Ukraine's future. Let us get more details on this.
Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky's visit is seen as a crucial diplomatic effort to secure international support for Ukraine in the ongoing conflict with Russia. In his discussions with the Crown Prince Mohammed, Zelensky emphasized the importance of security guarantees for his country. He also said on the social media platform X that the Ukrainian delegation remains in Jeddah to work with the US team on Tuesday, and its position in these talks will be fully constructive. He especially emphasized the issues of the release of prisoners and said that a significant part of the discussion was dedicated to the formats of the security guarantees. Meanwhile, US Secretary of State Marco Rubio addressed broader geopolitical issues, including promoting stability in Syria, confronting two Houthi threats in Yemen, and supporting Gaza's reconstruction. But all eyes remain on the upcoming Ukraine talks. The Ukrainian delegation, including Foreign Minister Andriy Sybiha, Defense Minister Rustem Umerov, and President Zelensky's Chief of Staff Andriy Yermak, is set to meet US officials. These talks will mark the first official negotiations since the disastrous meeting between President Zelensky and US President Donald Trump in the White House. Moscow has responded cautiously, raising concerns over Ukraine's readiness for peace.
It is not important what we expect. It is important what United States expects. The world is watching to see whether the Kyiv regime is truly willing to make peace or not.
The future of Ukraine and the stability of the broader region hinges on the outcome of the discussions in Jeddah. All stakeholders will be anxiously following the outcome. Aarti Rana's report for DD India.
Well, the Kurdish-led US-backed Syrian Democratic Forces has signed a deal agreeing to integrate into Syria's new state institutions. The deal, which included a complete cessation of hostilities, was signed by interim Syrian President Ahmed al-Shara and the SDF's commander Mazloum Abdi. Under the deal, all civilian and military institutions in northeast Syria will be integrated within the state, which will thus take over control of borders, airports and oil and gas fields. The SDF agrees to support the government in combating remnants of deposed President Bashar al-Assad's regime and any threats to Syria's security and unity. Abdi had previously expressed a willingness for his forces to be part of the new defense ministry, but said they should join as a bloc rather than individuals. And Greenland will hold a parliamentary election today, with independence a key campaign theme after US President Donald Trump said he wants control over the world's biggest island. Polling stations will open at 4:30 p.m. IST today and close at 3:30 a.m. IST March 12th. No exit polls will be conducted and results are expected between 6:30 a.m. IST and 8:30 a.m. IST on the 12th of March. Of the 6 parties running, only Nalarak has promised to hold a snap vote on independence, and all parties except for Atasut support secession. The vote comes at a time of heightened international interest in Greenland, particularly after US President Donald Trump expressed a desire to acquire the island, underscoring its strategic and economic significance. Well, Greenland's Prime Minister Mute Egede criticized Trump's remarks, stating the island deserves respect and will prioritize relations with nations that acknowledge its sovereignty. In his speech to Congress last week, Trump said that he would acquire Greenland one way or the other, and on Sunday he attempted to appeal to Greenlanders directly by reiterating his invitation to join the US in pledging to invest billions of dollars to create new jobs and make you rich. Well, Greenland, the sparsely populated island, has caught global attention as US President Donald Trump has set his eyes on acquiring the mineral-rich territory from Denmark for economic and strategic purposes. Meanwhile, indigenous identity is seeing a revival and call for independence is getting louder in Greenland. DD India correspondent Shubhendu Ghosh brings us more on this.
We need Greenland for national security and even international security. And I think we're going to get it. One way or the other, we're going to get it.
US President Donald Trump's unambiguous interest in Greenland has shaken the status quo in the world's largest island this election season. Some see it as a historic opportunity to push for freedom from Danish influence, while others caution a rashly attained independence may make Greenland more vulnerable to the expansionist ambitions of the American president. Greenlanders vote in the general elections on March 11th. Greenland's parliament is called Inatsisartut. The parliament comprises 31 members and elections are held every 4 years. Greenland is not divided into electoral districts. The whole of Greenland constitutes a single constituencies. A total of 6 parties and 213 candidates are in the fray in these elections. At present, Greenland operates a semi-autonomous territory under the Kingdom of Denmark. Indigenous identity is seeing a revival in Greenland ahead of the elections. All the main parties support independence, but they differ on how and when it could be achieved. The ruling Inuit Ataqatigiit IA party, a left-wing faction headed by Prime Minister Mute Ege, advocates an unhurried approach to Greenland's independence. On the other hand, Greenland's largest opposition party, Nalerak, and its leader, Pelle Broberg, want to see a swift transition to full independence.
The idea, the vision of becoming independent and being here in our own house has been a long time coming. It has been going on for many decades. It is nothing new. It has not just happened.
I want to make it very clear that in the eyes of the Danish government, Greenland is for the Greenlandic people. It is a very proud people with its own language and culture. It is a people that is their own. And as the chairman of the government of Greenland has stated before, Greenland is not for sale.
In addition to the question of independence, the country's relations with Denmark and the US, social services, tourism, as well as its fragile fishing and Danish grants-dependent economy are the main voter concerns. As a country, Greenland would be the 12th largest in the world by area. It is also the least populated region with a population of around 57,000 scattered in a few coastal towns and remote settlements. Almost 80% of Greenland's landmass is covered by the ice sheet. The sparsely populated region is believed to hold billions of tons of untapped rare earth minerals and oil reserves. Greenland's strategic location and resources make it an attractive acquisition for the American president. US already has a military base in northwest of Greenland. The general elections are expected to reveal where and how the Greenlanders see their future. Shubhendu Ghosh's report for TT India.
Well, military chiefs from 30 European and NATO countries willing to contribute to security guarantees for Ukraine after any negotiated truce with Russia are to meet in Paris on Tuesday. The moves come as US President Donald Trump upends the transatlantic alliance and seeks rapprochement with Moscow. The talks will center on the necessary rearmament of Europe and military support to Ukraine. Turkey, with NATO, is looking to play a key role in Europe's security after Washington's pivot away from the region. And former Philippines President Rodrigo Duterte was arrested on Tuesday after landing at Manila's international airport by police acting on an international criminal court warrant over his deadly war on drugs. Duterte's war on drugs was a signature policy after he swept to power in 2016 after crime-busting campaign vows to kill narcotic dealers. Human rights groups claims that Philippine police and vigilantes under their direction killed unarmed drug suspects on a massive scale on Duterte's watch, allegations that authorities have denied. The ICC has said it would pursue an investigation of suspected crimes against humanity, while Duterte subsequently withdrew the Philippines from the ICC. The government under new leader Marcos has indicated Duterte could be handed over. Duterte said on Monday in Hong Kong that he was ready to be arrested if the ICC issued a warrant. And a U.S. judge on Monday ordered that Palestinian Colombian student Mahmoud Khalil will not be deported for now and set a court hearing in the case for Wednesday. Earlier, Donald Trump had announced the deportation of Palestinian activist Mahmoud Khalil involved in Columbia University protest. Khalil's arrest was part of U.S. President Donald Trump's crackdown on some anti-Israel protesters. On Saturday evening, agents from the U.S. Department of Homeland Security arrested Khalil, a graduate student at Columbia School of International Public Affairs, telling him his student visa had been revoked. Demonstrators and the police briefly clashed on the streets of New York City and at least one person was detained. The Trump administration has not said Khalil is accused of or charged with a crime, but Trump wrote that his presence in the U.S. was contrary to national and foreign policy interest. Well, Japan marked 14 years on Tuesday since a devastating earthquake and tsunami rocked the country's northeast and triggered a nuclear crisis. People across Japan will observe a moment of silence and prayer for the victims at 5:46 GMT when the magnitude 9.0 tremor struck off the Pacific coast, leading to the deaths of over 22,000. Japanese Prime Minister Shigeru Ishiba is scheduled to attend a memorial service hosted by Fukushima Prefecture, where the crippled Fukushima Daiichi nuclear power complex is located. When the triple disaster struck 14 years ago, scores of people were forced from their homes. The disaster-prone nation has since taken steps to be better prepared for natural calamities, including the handling of evacuations and rebuild the affected areas. While there has been progress in the recovery of Fukushima and the other two hardest-hit prefectures of Miyagi and Iwate, about 28,000 people remain displaced across the nation, and areas in 7 municipalities in Fukushima are still designated as off-limits due to radiation. And still to come on DD India News Hour. 32 dead in 2 separate bus crashes in Mexico, including fiery collision in Durango. Vatican says Pope is responding to treatment, health improving. Extratropical cyclone Alfred triggers severe flooding and power outages in eastern Australia.
Geopolitics and trade deals. Economic challenges amid development. Hard work and the path to prosperity. It's the economy always. Between walkers, money is what money does and says. Supply creates its own demand. Between the bulls pulls and bears tears. When supply chains globalization and India rises to the podium. We'll get you centered with the Economic Brief at 8 p.m. every Thursday on DD India.
Welcome back. You're watching DD India News. I'm Lipakshi Kurana. Time now for a quick recap of the headlines. India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi arrives in Mauritius to an unprecedented welcome. Top dignitaries, including Prime Minister Naveen Chandra Ramagulam, receives Prime Minister Modi at the airport. US-Ukraine talks to discuss terms to end conflict in Jeddah today. Zelensky, US Secretary of State Marco Rubio meet Saudi Crown Prince to set the tone for highly anticipated meet. Greenland holds parliamentary polls amid repeated threats from US President Trump to take over the world's largest island. And global markets tank again amid fears that US President Donald Trump's policies could plunge economy into a recession. Nasdaq suffers biggest one-day loss since September 2022. And moving on, the Jet A1 fuel leak in the North Sea after a collision of US tanker and cargo vessel has sparked global environmental concerns, with experts warning that it could lead to a devastating effect on marine life and ecosystem. DD India's Yashasvi brings us this report. A tanker carrying jet fuel for the US military collided with a container ship off northeast England on Monday, sparking a massive blaze and multiple explosions. The incident forced both crews to abandon ship. 36 crew members were rescued and one taken to hospital. The tanker, Stena Immaculate, was carrying around 220,000 barrels of jet fuel, while the container ship, Solong, had 15 containers of sodium cyanide on board. The collision ruptured the tanker's cargo tank, releasing fuel into the sea and raising concerns about environmental harm, particularly to protected seabird colonies and marine life. All vessel movements were suspended in the vicinity, and Germany dispatched a vessel for firefighting and oil recovery.
The problem with this sort of spill is that it will evaporate, but also it makes it more dangerous in terms of likely explosions. So, it has to be dealt with very carefully. I think it's highly unlikely it's going to explode when it hits the coast, but it will cause pollution incidents along the coast.
The incident has sparked concerns about multiple toxic hazards and environmental harm, as Jet A1 fuel is highly flammable and toxic. The UK Coast Guard ended the search for the missing crew member after an extensive search. Collisions remain rare in the busy North Sea, but this incident highlights the importance of maritime safety and environmental protection. Bureau Report, DD India. And in Mexico, at least 32 people were killed on Monday in two separate bus crashes. At least 18 were killed in southern Oaxaca state when a bus turned over along a highway, while 14 people died in the country's north in a fiery collision between a tractor-trailer and a bus carrying passengers from the U.S. state of Texas. Of the 24 people traveling in the bus, only 10 managed to get out alive. Authorities are investigating both accidents, which highlight issues like high speeds, poor road conditions, and driver fatigue in Mexico. Well, Guatemalan authorities evacuated around 1,000 people after Central America's most active volcano erupted, spewing lava, ash and rocks. Around 30,000 people were potentially at risk and should evacuate themselves if necessary. Authorities have urged them to evacuate if necessary. The volcano's eruption has caused widespread damage, with ash and lava flows affecting nearby communities. The Guatemalan government has declared a state of emergency in the affected areas, and rescue efforts there are ongoing. Well, the Vatican announced on Monday that Pope Francis' health is improving and his life is no longer at risk. The 88-year-old Pope was hospitalized on February 14th with bronchitis, which developed into pneumonia in both lungs. Despite experiencing breathing difficulties that sparked global concern, including a recent crisis on March 3rd, the Pope has shown a steady improvement over the past week. The Vatican stated that his prognosis is no longer uncertain, but he will require continued hospital treatment for several days due to the complexity of his condition and severe infection. Once this treatment is completed, it is expected that he will be able to return home. Well, workers in Washington on Monday began removing a Black Lives Matter street mural installed during the height of 2020 racial justice protest, bowing to pressure from President Donald Trump. City officials in the U.S. Capitol have credited the art installation with calming tensions near the White House, where violent clashes between protesters and security personnel had occurred in the days prior. Trump, who was president at the time of the unrest, returned to office in January, seeking to overturn the so-called diversity, equity and inclusion practices which spread widely throughout the public and private sectors following the George Floyd protest. Congressional Republicans and Trump aides had eyed the mural as part of their move to force changes in the administration of Washington. Well, extratropical cyclone Alfred has brought severe weather conditions to eastern Australia, causing widespread flooding with over 120,000 homes and businesses currently without power. Emergency crews rescue people stranded in flood waters. The heavy rainfall has bloated rivers, inundating parts of the east coast, particularly in southeast Queensland and northeast New South Wales. The Australian weather authorities have issued flood warnings, with rivers expected to continue rising throughout the day. Well, the sky gazers are in for a treat as the first lunar eclipse of 2025 is set to take place this week, coinciding with the festival of colours, Holi. On March 14th, a total lunar eclipse will occur, turning the moon a deep red shade, which is why it's called a blood moon. Interestingly, this year, the blood moon has a special connection with Holi. During the eclipse, the moon will pass into the Earth's shadow and gradually change colour from grey to pink, then orange and finally red. The lunar eclipse is completely safe to watch with the naked eye. The best view will be in North and South America, where the eclipse will be fully visible. However, people in Europe, Africa and Asia will only get to see a partial eclipse. And now let's take a look at other stories making news around the world. In the scenic port city of Choshi, near Tokyo, Miyazawa Masaki keeps a 200-year-old tradition alive. His colorful Mawashiki Tairobata flags, once gold luck charms for fishermen, are now treasured as spring gifts for milestones like graduations or marriages. Using rice glue and skillful brushwork, Miyazawa pours heart and precision into every flag. As he hopes to pass this cherished craft to the next generation, these vibrant flags carry both history and celebration into the future. Inspired by her frustration with the lack of female artists on record shop shelves, Lauren Carter from Hobart, Australia, created a haven for women-led music. With the support of her family, her shop exclusively stocks works by female solo artists and female-led bands. Amid a male-dominated industry, Carter's mission elevates women's voices, celebrating their talent and ensuring they are heard. It's a revolution, one record at a time. Vietnam is shining on the global cinema stage as Hollywood selects iconic locations like Cat Ba and Ninh Binh for a major production. With government-backed policies supporting filmmakers, Vietnam is set to become a global filmmaking hub. This initiative boosts tourism, aiming to attract 22 to 23 million international visitors, while showcasing Vietnam's beauty and potential as a world-class filming destination. And still to come in DD India News Hour. Elon Musk claims a massive cyber attack behind global outages on X. An Indian film festival in South Africa celebrates Bollywood and International Women's Day.
Goa, a wild nature paradise, where over a third of the state remains wild today, and every corner is full of surprises. Goa's forests evolve through the seasons. Insects and crocodiles flourish in the monsoon, butterflies in the months after the rains subside, and in the winter, the jungle transforms into a haven for birds.
Oh, there's a female right next to him. Oh my god, is that 8 otters? That's one of my favorite things about these forests. There are still so many secrets out there.
Watch postcards from Goa on National Geographic.
Welcome back. You're watching DD India News now. Lipakshi Kuranan on to some business news now. The world markets tumbled on Monday on fears of an impending U.S. recession. Experts are sounding out that the prospect of a recession in the U.S. is lurking, with consumer confidence falling and companies facing increasing trade complexity. Investors are turning more nervous and markets sending jitters to signal its apparent unease. The policies of U.S. President Donald Trump pushing the U.S. economy to the recession quagmire. At least 70 out of 74 economists in U.S., Canada and Mexico contacted by Newswire services Reuters think so. So do the experts at many financial firms at the Wall Street. And the markets may have just given a stinging reminder. Global markets slumped on Monday with Wall Street logging sharp losses over fears of recession. Uncertainty over Trump's tariffs and threats have left U.S. financial markets in turmoil and consumers unsure of what the year might bring. Nasdaq Composite Index plummeted by 4.0%. The S&P 500 was down 2.7%, both seeing worst day since 2022. The S&P 1500 Super Composite Index, one of the widest measures of the U.S. stock market, has lost nearly $4.9 trillion in value since its record high in mid-February. The Nasdaq was bogged down by retreats in tech stocks, including Google parent Alphabet, Apple, Amazon, Meta, and Nvidia. Tesla, led by Trump's billionaire advisor Elon Musk, closed more than 15% down. While markets were previously bolstered by hopes of tax cuts and lighter regulation, immediate worries over tariffs has clouded every other factor, adding fuel to the raging fires. Heavy job cuts being implemented by Elon Musk and his Doge team. Beijing's retaliatory duties on certain U.S. agricultural goods came into force on Monday after Chinese products were hit with additional 20% U.S. tariffs. Trump, in a Fox News interview aired over the weekend, declined to predict whether his economic policies would cause a recession. A new wave threatens to arrive this week, with steep levies of 25% on steel and aluminum imports due to take effect on Wednesday. Bureau Report, DD India. And social media platform X went down intermittently on Monday, with the owner Elon Musk blaming an unusually powerful cyber attack. Musk said a massive cyber attack has hit his X social media platform that disabled millions of users across the globe. Reports of problems with X started early on Monday, with users in Asia, Europe and North America saying they could not access the platform. Well, Musk later said in an interview that the cyber attack came from IP addresses originating in the Ukraine area, without going into detail on what this might mean. Musk also blamed a cyber attack for crashing the site last year when an interview with Donald Trump was about to be streamed on it. While you're watching DD India News, our time now for some sports news. England's Harry Brook has withdrawn from the Indian Premier League IPL 2025 for the second straight season, a move which could lead to his suspension for 2 years from the tournament. Brook apologized to the Delhi Capitals franchise and its supporters on social media, stressing that playing for England remains his priority and focus. Brook is one of the favourites, along with England Test captain Ben Stokes, to replace Jos Buttler as the white ball captain. Buttler resigned from the post following its group stage elimination at the Champions Trophy. The IPL Governing Council has introduced a new rule stating that if a player makes himself unavailable after being picked in the auction, he will be banned for 2 seasons. And Harmanpreet Kaur's fluent half-century was backed by an exceptional bowling performance as Mumbai Indians beat Gujarat Giants by 9 runs to strengthen their chances of finishing on top in the Women Premier League on Monday. Harmanpreet showcased her class as she slammed 9 boundaries to score 54 of 33 balls and anchor Mumbai to a competitive total of 179 for 6. The bowlers then took over with superb performances from Shabnim Ismail and Amelia Kerr as Mumbai Indians bowled Gujarat Giants out for 170 in 20 overs. Despite a whirlwind 25-ball 61 by Bharti Fulmeli, with this win, Mumbai has joined Delhi Capitals at 10 points but still stay at second position due to a lower net run rate. Well, the ICC Champions Trophy returned after an 8-year gap, and India made history by winning the tournament for a record third time on Sunday. As we close the chapter on this event, let's take a look at the highlights in our next report.
India defeated New Zealand by 4 wickets in the final of the ICC Champions Trophy in Dubai to secure the ICC event title for a record third time. Looking back at the tournament, here are some of the highlights. Virat Kohli silenced the critics over his form in Test cricket with an unbeaten 100 against arch rivals Pakistan during group stage encounter. His mastery of the conditions, combined with his ability to rotate the strike, took India to victory with 6 wickets and 45 balls to spare. Kohli was also India's saviour in the semi-finals against Australia when his 84 steered another successful chase. Pakistan hosted a major cricket event for the first time in 3 decades, and excitement there was sky high despite India's decision to play all their matches in Dubai due to security concerns. However, Pakistan's poor show on the field deflated the spirits of the cricket-crazy nation with successive losses to New Zealand, India, and ultimately its elimination from the finals. New Zealand's rising star Rachin Ravindra claimed the golden bat for most runs and player of the tournament for his scintillating performances. Scoring 2 centuries for the Black Caps, Rachin made his case as a future leader amongst the batters. In 4 matches, he made 263 runs at an average of 65.75. Rachin broke Kane Williamson's record of scoring the most runs for New Zealand in single edition of the Champions Trophy. KL Rahul hailed as India's Champions Trophy's unsung hero, having twice kept a cool head under pressure to see his team to victory in the 10th semi-final and finals. After the departure of Rohit and Kohli, it was Rahul who had kept calm to guide India across the finish line on the finals. Rohit was full of praise for Rahul's composure at the sharp end of the nerve-shredding chase. Veteran batsman Steve Smith called time on his ODI career a day after Australia lost in the semi-finals to India. Smith top scored for Australia with 73, but his knock was in vain after India overhauled Australia in the semi-finals. On the other hand, Jos Buttler also stepped down as England's white ball captain following his side's Champions Trophy exit. His position came under scrutiny after a sustained poor run of ODI form for England, stretching back to the start of the 2023 World Cup. Faiz Khan's report for DD India.
And in tennis, defending champion Iga Swiatek will face Czech's Karolina Muchova in the 4th round of Indian Wells on Tuesday. Early on Monday, Swiatek defeated Diana Yastremska 6-0, 6-2 in the 3rd round to edge closer to an unprecedented 3rd Indian Wells title. Elsewhere, in women's singles, 17-year-old Mira Andreeva will face Indian Wells champion Alina Rybakina in the 4th round of the championship on Wednesday morning. Well, Indian Film Festival in South Africa took place in Johannesburg, showcasing popular Bollywood films, some of which were dubbed in isiZulu, one of South Africa's national languages. The festival coincided with the celebration of International Women's Day, honouring women within the film industry. DD India correspondent Nazanin Ismail reports for more.
It's purple carpet arrivals with royalty, dignitary, VIPs and myself, and this is the Indian Film Festival South Africa, proudly brought to you by the High Commission of India, Pretoria, the Consulate General of India, Johannesburg, and Zee Entertainment Africa. India takes centre stage as the ultimate destination for international filmmakers. Celebrating the rich legacy of Indian cinema, the country offers breathtaking locations and world-class production services, transforming storytelling into cinematic magic. This extraordinary tribute highlights India's growing influence in global filmmaking.
It is an honor to address you today in this ceremony, where we celebrate the extraordinary contributions of South African women in cinema as part of the India-South Africa Film Festival. I'm happy to be part of this recognition of talent, resilience, and creativity, qualities that not only shape the world of film, but also reflect the strength of the women who have long been at the heart of our shared history.
As we all know, cinema is more than entertainment. It is a mirror of our societies, a bridge across continents, and a testament to the enduring ties between our nations. From the days of Mahatma Gandhi's time in South Africa and to Nelson Mandela's admiration for India's freedom struggle, our histories have intertwined, and today our films continue that legacy.
Renowned figures from the film industry came together for a panel discussion on India's emergence as a global powerhouse in filmmaking. They highlighted India's technological advancements, positioning it as the ideal production hub for international content creators. As we celebrated International Women's Day with the Indian Film Festival South Africa, we reflected on the ongoing journey towards a safer, fairer and more gender equal world.
These type of festivals not only bring people, but it connects one to their roots, and that is more important.
Look at how strong our community is. We have penetrated every single industry and we have executed with excellence. So South Africa is not the same without our community and the presence of our incredibly talented, hardworking, diligent Indian community.
South Africa, for some reason, I think Indians feel kind of connected to South Africa, and I think South Africa also has this, kind of an affection for India. And I mean, Pink is the film that they're screening today, and it's a film that's so close to my heart. It's a beautiful film. It's a very powerful film.
March 8th serves as a powerful reminder to keep gender equality at the forefront of the global conversation, inspiring change and progress in every industry, including cinema. The lights are dimming, the cameras are packing up, and the popcorn is finally out. It's a wrap-up. I'm Nazneen for DD India, Johannesburg, South Africa.
All right, that's all for this edition of DD India News Hour, but let us know your thoughts on the news of the day. For those on the go, you can get all the latest news and updates from India and across the world on the DD India mobile app. The app is available on both Android and iOS platforms. Scan the QR code on the screen to download now. Well, we'll be back with more news as it breaks here on DD India. I'm Lipakshi Khurana from all of us here in Delhi. Thanks for watching DD India News Hour.